Bottom
You
line
are
is,
arguing that one country is needed by 27 countries more than 27 countries are needed by one country.
absolutely right.
That would imply that one country is inherently better than 27 countries combined.
Bang on! Congratulations, you've hit the nail on the head. We are the 5th largest economy.
We can look it up.
So all these thousands of people, and then these thousands.
So what do you want now? What do you want?
I want us to leave on the 12th.
Yeah.
Without a deal.
Without a deal.
I don't want Theresa May to go. I don't like her. She's a Remain. I don't like you.
And who will that be the benefit of? Who does that help?
This country. It helps us by leaving. You know?
How does it help us?
We voted to leave.
How does it help us?
It's been almost 3 years now.
How does it help us?
Well, we regain control of our borders, our laws, and our sovereignty. We govern ourselves again. No more directives from the EU. No more red tape from Brussels. No more £12 billion each year going to the EU. We can spend that money in this country where it belongs. No more mass immigration from the EU. We can control our borders. We can say to these EU nationals, sorry, but this country is full up. We've got too many people as it is. Our jobs are for British people. This country is for the British people. So yeah, we can take our country back. This is why I'm here today.
Okay. So, for people that are struggling financially, how do you think Brexit will help them?
Yeah.
But you want us to leave with no deal though?
Well, for a start, mass immigration drives down wages.
No, but you want us to leave with no deal.
So if we leave the EU, there'll be no more mass immigration. Wages will increase.
Do you want to leave us with no deal though?
Absolutely no deal.
Would that not? Can you name another major economy in the world that doesn't have a trade deal with its closest neighbours?
No, there are 168 countries that aren't members of the EU. Are you telling me
that
they can't survive
that's not the question I asked.
the EU?
That's not the question I
Of
asked.
course they can.
That's not the question I asked.
We can survive
That's not the question I asked. The question I asked was, can you name a country, a major economy in the world that doesn't have a trade deal with its closest neighbours?
Countries trade throughout the world. They trade with each other. You can't ask me specifically which.
The answer is that there isn't a major economy in the world that doesn't have a trade deal with its closest neighbours. So by asking us to leave with no deal, you'd be suggesting to do something that every successful economy in the world has chosen specifically
so what about these
not to do.
countries that are queuing up? They want us to do trade deals. Trump's America. They are dying for us to leave.
And Donald Trump has said explicitly that he plans to use post-Brexit UK-US trade deals to make the NHS pay more for drugs, so that American companies pay less.
That's completely untrue.
No.
I don't know where you got your facts from. That's completely wrong.
His health secretary Alex Azar.
It's more
his health secretary Alex. No. This is. Please, I can show you. I can show you the details now.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you that by suggesting we leave the EU without a deal, we'd be doing something that every successful economy in the world has chosen specifically not to do. So that would logically mean.
I don't really care about the rest of the world right now. I'm more concerned about getting the Brexit we voted for. 17 million of us voted to leave, and it's been almost 3 years now, and I'm having to come down here to demonstrate today because we were meant to be leaving today, we're not.
But if it makes us poor, isn't that a betrayal of the working class?
You don't know that. You don't know it will make us poorer. It's complete. I heard the same stuff about the euro. If we didn't join the euro, it would be a disaster for us. If we voted to leave, there would be an immediate recession. 800,000 job losses. Where are these job losses? Unemployment is at its lowest rate for 42 years. So where's the mass unemployment you predicted?
I'm not asking you to quote this Project Fear or any of that. I'm asking you.
You're peddling Project Fear. That's all you've been doing since the referendum. You've been peddling Project Fear. Peddling lies.
I'm asking you, if we do something that every successful economy in the world has chosen specifically not to do you not think that might make us poorer?
I don't believe you. I just don't buy that. I just don't believe you're telling me the truth here.
Which part?
I think there are 168 countries that are not members of the EU. Mm-hmm. They all survive outside it. They
all have trade deals with their neighbours.
You're telling us we can't. We can do that, sir. We can negotiate our own free trade deals outside of the EU.
Those countries you mentioned, they all have trade deals with their closest neighbours. We'd be the only. In fact, Donald Trump, for example, you just mentioned, when he started his trade war with the rest of the world, he left Canada and Mexico out of it because not even Donald Trump was crazy enough to damage trade with his closest neighbours. All countries do most of their trade with the countries that are close by. You'd be asking us to do something.
We will still trade with the EU once we've left it. We will still trade with our European neighbours. Trade isn't going to stop if we leave. We will still continue to trade with the EU as a non-member. So surely we've got nothing to worry about. They're going to continue to trade with us. We are one of their biggest markets.
But why would countries, if trading without a trade deal was good enough and wasn't relatively less good, why would countries make trade deals in the first place?
Are you telling us if we leave without a deal, our European neighbours aren't going to trade with us?
They will trade.
They're going to cease trading.
They will continue
to trade. So what are you worried about then?
It's about the benefits of that trade. It's about how profitable that trade is. For example, if there's a trade barrier between us and our biggest market, that will make things harder in this country.
why would there be a trade
Temporarily.
barrier? Why would there be a trade barrier?
If there's tariffs, if there's regulatory
Why would
difference,
they erect tariffs?
because they have to.
Why?
Because if you have tariffs on a certain
And
product,
tariffs
you have,
will-
you have to.
Why would they
we can
erect
impose
tariffs?
our own tariffs.
Yeah, and then we'd have to do it on every single country in the world.
No. We import more from the EU
Yep.
than we export to them, so there
Yep.
is a trade deficit.
Yep.
So it's not in their interest to import tariffs. And if they did, we would win the war because we import less.
As a rule, the biggest barrier to trade is having different laws.
No. So we would win the war because we import less. So
No.
bottom line
You are arguing that one country is needed by 27 countries more than 27 countries are needed by one country.
Absolutely right.
That would imply that one country is inherently better than 27 countries combined.
Bang on! Congratulations, you've hit the nail on the head. We are the 5th largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
And what? So you think we're on a parity? You think we're on a parity with Lithuania?
It's a small part of their export. It's not a big part of their export, is it? It's a small part. It's 6%.
What's important to mention is the GDP of Germany is larger than us.
I understand that.
Yeah. So when you say we're the 5th largest economy, you forget to mention that Germany, one of those 27 countries, is the 4th largest economy.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Germany will be
because that's the issue.
Germany will now be subsidising the other 26 on its own because it won't have our money. It'll be 39 billion short.
Yeah.
So when it looks in the kitty and it says the Volkswagen, hang on.
And in terms of money, you talk about the money that we give to the EU. Look at it this way: there are 40 agencies around the EU which perform governmental functions. The cost of that is shared among 28 countries. Leaving the EU puts that on the UK taxpayer alone. A concrete
because you wouldn't be performing those. You wouldn't be performing those totally unnecessary.
Actually, no, sir.
You would remove a whole layer of bureaucracy.
Sir.
That's quite understandable.
Sir, for example,
that's quite understandable that you believe in autocracy or democracy. We believe in democracy.
For example,
we don't need to be led by a load of bureaucrats in Brussels.
I just want to add to that point.
No, because it's not about money here today, and it's not about in or out. It's about democracy.
Just to complete that point. Sir.
I spent 22 years in the services fighting to give people a voice around the world and allow them a vote, give them a democratic right.
Yeah.
I
And
come
thank
back
you for your service.
25 years later after saying goodbye to some real good friends and stand by the graveside watching children crying for their dads who never come home for democracy. For democracy.
And I've got a friend who also served.
So
who
today
has the
is about
exact opposite
democracy,
opinion.
my friend. It isn't about in or out.
And I've got a close friend who also served who has the exact opposite view on
how
Brexit.
haven't you got the compassion for the democratic right of 17.4
Yes,
million?
We want to govern ourselves.
But in the referendum 2016, it did not state exactly what relationship we were going to have with the EU.
Just said leave.
story.
Yeah,
Leave.
which means that if that's okay, then you should be happy with Theresa May's deal.
That isn't
Oh, come on.
That isn't leaving.
Which is a terrible deal because it means a loss of sovereignty.
We're arguing like them in that. We're arguing like them in
It's
that.
a fake Brexit. Theresa May's deal
It's a
is a
soft
fake
Brexit. Remainers should be doing
She's a
flick-flacks
Remainer.
and cartwheels down the centre aisle of Westminster. They should be going.
No.
on your side.
On that
surprised
point,
she's
I would disagree because right now the UK as a member of the EU has 73 of the 750 members of the European
sure,
Parliament, which means we have 3 times the voting power of the average EU country.
The European Parliament is a joke.
That deal means we follow the rules with no say. It's a total loss of sovereignty and a betrayal of the people that voted for Brexit.
then
But
you
you just said we
How
should
much
vote
contribution do we
for
still
her
have to
deal.
make?
But you-
I'm saying that deal means we leave the EU but end up less sovereign than EU members. That's the point.
Yes, but you a couple of seconds ago you said we should support her deal.
I'm saying that unless the referendum 2016 specified a specific relationship, we cannot complain if we end up with something that
Yes, we
nobody
can.
likes.
We voted to leave. We wanted a clean
Majority
break.
moved.
No single market,
David
no
Cameron
customs
made it
union,
perfectly
no
clear.
rulings from the
Theresa
EU.
May made it
but it-
perfectly clear.
We don't want to be in the
And may I
customs union,
respect your
which is what
decision.
Theresa May deal delivers. It keeps
EU
Northern
costs
Ireland
us-
in the customs union.
The EU
Northern
costs
Ireland
us
cannot leave.
86 billion a
without the
year.
deal.
Okay, if we're going to go back to the money thing, for example, as I mentioned before, there's an increased budget burden if we're by ourselves because you take taxpayer alone. The Galileo project, that's cost 8 billion set up among 28 different countries. We plan to do that by ourselves post-Brexit at a cost of 5 billion. So if you share 8 billion among 28 countries or 5 billion among one country, we are not saving money.
You
How
know,
much
save
money we
86
get back for
billion.
every pound we put into Europe?
5% of our
38
VAT.
pence in the
5% of our
pound.
VAT.
Romania get
goes to the
£3
EU.
and 6p per pound. Just not good economic sense,
EU
is it?
rips
Really?
off.
The
The EU
Galileo
rip us off.
project,
They're not
it's
worth.
shared over 27 countries, but the 27 countries don't contribute to it because they don't.
It's unequal.
A lot of them
get money from the
But
EU,
I-
so they're negative.
As I just explained, the cost is significantly higher if we buy ourselves.
Yes, but we'll own it. At the moment,
We have a 27
we're paying a larger proportion for the Galileo project than Romania.
It still doesn't add up to 5 billion though.
I mean, you mentioned Theresa May. She's a Remainer. She should be. I mean, I'm surprised she stood out here with you waving the EU flag because she doesn't want us to leave. She doesn't believe in Brexit. You know, and she's betraying 17 million Leave voters. She should have got an deal as well.
With our contribution to the EU, plus the tariffs we collect them, plus the VAT that we collect for them, plus 86 billion a year to stay in the EU. And you're worried about 5 billion.
I'm talking about the effect on British jobs. For example,
very little
12 billion.
about
Well, we give the EU 12 billion a year. 12 billion. What a waste of money. That money should be kept in this
I just
country.
explained just one example
It's a waste of
of
money.
how it's a better return on
Why are
investment.
we paying our taxes?
5 billion versus
every pound.
5 billion among
We
one
get
country,
ripped off.
8 billion among
We get
28
ripped
countries.
off.
Every pound we
That
put
is
in-
one issue. That's one issue.
Every
You
pound
talk
that
about the
we
effects
put in-
of the European Medicines Agency, that sort of stuff, which we do together. All these are things which we work on together.
Excuse me, I don't even understand why you lot are arguing. The point is, there was a referendum. The referendum gave a result. It was the result
very
was to
clear
leave.
result.
Hold on a second. It was a result to leave. It was not a result to leave subject to agreements. It was a result to leave. So why are you even discussing this?
Absolutely.
So we're
Because of the
talking to
people
a
in there.
gentleman now who has no respect for democracy.
Yeah.
This is a common denominator. All people want to remain.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know why you're discussing
You're not a
about
Democrat.
economics on it. We had a result.
Yeah. We voted to leave. We voted to leave.
And it wasn't a vote to leave
Yeah, and it
subject
didn't
to an
say-
agreement.
Absolutely.
To be fair,
Absolutely.
I agree
Finish.
with you, but to be fair,
Disgusting.
I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
What is your position on where we should go from here
Disgusting.
today, right now?
I think that we need.
Why don't you let him talk? Let him ask him a question. Let him finish.
I think
You
there
had
needs
your
to be, I think there
say.
needs to be a
Plenty
mechanism
of it.
for finding out exactly what Brexit, the majority of Brexit voters actually wanted and actually want right now, and then
Well,
How would you know? You're a Remainer.
Now,
You're not a Brexit voter. You hate Brexit.
as long
How can
as
you-
often when
pretend to speak
people,
for us.
often when
You don't
Remainers
speak
say
for us.
that, it's kind of couching the fact that they want to have another referendum that takes leave off the ballot paper. Would you put leave on the referendum?
when you say leave, you mean no deal.
Yeah, no deal. Yeah.
Me personally, I don't think we should put no deal on the ballot paper.
Right. Okay. Why?
Because it violates our international obligations to Northern Ireland. And the damage that we do to the country. For starters, the campaign 2016, Dominic Raab, Brexit Secretary, he said it'd be Project Fear to suggest we'd be leaving without a deal. He said it'd be scaremongering to suggest we'd be leaving without a deal.
Right. Let's just have a little show of hands right here. I guess the majority of people.
I think this might be a skewed sample.
No. Okay, no. You don't know what I'm going to ask. You don't know what the question is, right? Here, the majority of people are to leave, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the question: how many people, when you voted to leave on the 23rd of June,
Again, skewed sample.
2016,
Skewed sample.
you don't know what the question is?
Okay.
You don't know what the question
Okay,
is?
go for it.
How many people, when you voted to leave on June the 23rd, 2016, if you voted leave or you voted remain, did you think there would be a deal?
No.
There was never any talk of a deal.
No.
There was never a talk of a deal. So
wasn't on the ballot
therefore, it meant to just leave without a deal, ultimately. Yes, a deal is preferable, okay, but people voted, accepted that there would be no deal.
So for the past 2 years, we've heard, 3 years, we've heard people saying that the EU need us more than we need them. The whole basis of that argument was the EU need us so badly they will give us a good deal. That was the entire basis of that argument. So you've been arguing for a deal, and now you're telling us that people voted to leave without one.
The issue is, our people who have been negotiating for us have negotiated in bad faith. Okay?
No, they're not.
If we enter into the deal, we are over a barrel.
Agreed.
Because they will take us for everything and force us into a backstop
Agreed.
that we would never get
Agreed.
out of.
It's a terrible deal.
Now, last night there was a free lecture at the London School of Economics, a debate about Brexit. Brexit that had the ex-deputy governor of the Bank of England, the person who's in charge of the leave in the civil service, professors. I went there to the London School.
I go to that
I was. Yes, there was. You check. Look at on YouTube.
I will never play a game of anything with you.
6:30 to 8 o'clock last night, they had a grown-up discussion about exiting the EU. Right, the economic position was either way 2%, and in the long term nobody knows. There's no economic argument.
No, they said it was all negative actually. All of the numbers that he showed were all negative. From minus 2% to minus 18%. It was all negative.
The one at minus 18%, he said was using lots of things to ignore it. So you were in the room and I was in the room, yeah? He said it's about 2 or 3%. Yeah?
Negative, at least.
0 to 2 or 3%.
No, negative 2 to minus 18. But okay, he's an economist anyway. Oh, we don't care about economy.
In terms of trusting politicians to act in the interest of you and me, I 100% am on your side on that. They have shown an absolute disregard. Also, as a side point, whereabouts are you from? Because I'm from Bromsgrove, Moseley.
And you're Aston.
Nice.
So I grew up single parent family in a city comprehensive in Aston, right? I was told at 11 years old, my mum was told, you can go to grammar school, but you're really poor and you won't be able to afford the uniform. Just send her anywhere, she'll be all right, right? So, right, and that's what happens when you have people who don't believe in the working class and the poor, right? People will say that people who voted Brexit are racist. I grew up in a multicultural community.
No,
I
reject that entirely.
There's no racism. What it is for me, this is protecting the masses, because as soon as democracy does not matter, then the majority of us who are poorer, not necessarily poorer, but poorer and don't have access to the things that the elite people have to, the only thing they have to protect them is to remove democracy. And that's why I think we should get out of
on that point, I 100% agree, because we have a situation. Our first past the post system means that unless you live in a swing state, your vote just doesn't count. I'm from Bromsgrove, my constituency of Sajid Javid. So my vote has never mattered because I would never vote for. I would never vote Tory.
The thing is, if things continue as they are, and you have a poor underclass, the education system is deliberately broken. The NHS is deliberately broken. You cannot make things so bad by accident, right? Things are broken, and the people at the bottom stay at the bottom. But the thing is, the people at the bottom have more children than the people at the top, and they're realising that democracy will eventually bring them down, and they can't have that.
On your point about how the political class has actually failed, 100%. I was born in Darlington, so I know the way these guys have never cared about the working class. These guys have never cared about areas outside of London. The whole lot of them have failed this country for years, decades, and that desperately needs to change. But for me, one of the biggest ironies of Brexit is our first past the post system. That means that many votes here just simply don't count because they know they've got safe seats.
Yes. And for the first time in decades, it counted.
I know,
and they're trying to stop it.
And I hear you. And I hear you on that. The irony is, in the European Parliament, they have proportional representation, which means that, for example, the Greens. Can I finish this? Which means that the Greens, for example, even though they have a similar vote support, they have 51 MEPs out of 750, whereas we have Caroline Lucas. Which means, ironically, which means that ironically, your views are more likely to have weight in the European Parliament and the UK Parliament. Yet we voted Brexit because we weren't being heard.
Local government for local people. Because I can't change my environment by going to someone in the EU and saying change my environment. They won't. What they will do, they will look at everybody's needs, right? They will look at everybody's needs, and they will not consider mine because mine are on the bottom of the pile.
But that's the point. The regional development system basically gives funding to local communities so that they can spend the money on the things that they need.
It gives to local government.
It
gives it to the local government. It does not give it to local communities.
That's what
and it tells them what to spend it on.
No. In fact, there have been several issues where they've given money to local government, and local government's basically wasted it to the expense of ordinary working people. And that's utterly shameful. But that's the problem we have right here at home.
Funding and what it's used for comes from the EU. Voting out your local government doesn't make any difference because they have no power.
No, they have the power to choose on what money they spend on it.
They have no power because they're told by the EU.
There have been several situations where the people living in the community have complained that the local government has chosen to spend it on ridiculous things, and that's the problem.
Where law begins and where it ends. So when you start to ignore where law ends and where it begins, then you have a
I vote them out. Right? And the next one goes in and he knows if he doesn't do what's right for the people locally,
like if I was to go over and take your cell phone right now, you go, that's mine. That's my property.
I think in my local community matters not.
For me
And this is where
in terms of what it's spent on, that's the local government that chooses. In terms of what the EU does, okay, so you vote for your member of your European Parliament. Yeah, and as for the laws in general, the member state governments they sit twice every 6 months. They set the general policy direction of the EU. Then what you would call the unelected commission, which is appointed by the heads of government, they then come up with policy proposals, but then it gets amended, approved, or rejected by the Parliament, and it goes back and forth with the government again. It goes back and forth, and they basically hash it out. So you have power there.
If you have something,
when you die,
the
humanists not. No, but the will of the people needs to continue as long as
the EU. If you do something that our MPs do that we don't like, they will blame the EU. You have to take away their ability to blame someone else.
That is literally the only benefit that I see of Brexit. I'm being pulled away. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the
Mate, thank you for talking sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you. Voice in the dark.
Cheers.
Keep up the good work, Femi.
Thank you very much. Cheers. All right. So the idea.